Good afternoon, and thank you for tuning in to Politics in the Pulpit here on your hometown station. This is your holy host, the Bishop of Santa Clarita, Pastor Jerry Cook, here for our weekly soiree of looking at the world through the lens of God's infallible Word. We have a great show lined up for you today. I'm only sad that we only have an hour to do it all in. At the bottom of the hour, we'll be joined on the phone by Patrick Gipson, who is running to replace Pilar Schiavo in the 40th District. You might all remember we had a Republican representing that before November of 2022, but that Republican decided to give us abortion as a state's right. So we'll be talking to Patrick Gipson, who, Lord willing, will win his race against Pilar, who is a progressive, over-the-top, pronoun-using leftist. So we'll talk to Patrick Lee at the bottom of the hour. And by the way, this is Patrick's second time on our show, and we are pleased to have him back on today and just about any time Patrick wants to come on. We wanted to quickly make a quick shameless plug. For those of you that are subscribers to Rumble, I don't know if Rumble is something that you guys frequent in terms of a social platform, but you can find Freedom's Way Baptist Church on Rumble. We need a total of 20 followers in order for us to get a custom URL. So we need 17 more followers on Rumble. Again, we just started this. You can also find us on YouTube at Freedom's Way Baptist Church and like and subscribe to our YouTube page. But again, we just started posting on Rumble, and again, we need 20 followers in order to get a custom URL. So if you are geared to Rumble, and that is one of your platforms, would you please go over there and give us a like, subscribe, and allow us to get one of those URLs. That's our shameless plug for today. Thank you very much for enduring that. Well, I want to talk to you about someone you probably would never have known if it were not for his antics over this last weekend. If I were to ask you to name the mayor of Burbank, how many of you would be raising your hands frantically wanting to shout it out? I would bet none of you knew who the mayor of Burbank, California was before this last weekend. Well, the mayor of Burbank is a guy by the name of Constantine Anthony. I actually met him face-to-face last Thursday when we had a rally for life right here in Santa Clarita, which was essentially not only a rally for the life of the unborn and for the right of them to be born and not tortured and executed inside of the womb and then piece by piece extracted by doctors, but this was also a protest to the opposite side because they were hosting a rally for reproductive rights. And so this Constantine Anthony was on the other side. When both sides called it quits around 7 o'clock on Thursday, we were all kind of milling about in the parking lot, and this guy that I happened to know later ended up being Constantine Anthony, came up to our group and introduced himself and said he's running for supervisor here in Los Angeles County, specifically against Catherine Barger, who, by the way, is the only Republican of the 5 supervisors, so we need to keep her. In fact, we need to actually add to her. By the way, on a side note, just found out today that former Sheriff Villanueva has thrown his hat into the ring and is going to be running against Janice Hahn. So excited about that. But anyway, Mayor Constantine Anthony went viral on social media after he was seen getting spanked by a drag queen at a fundraising event called Drag Queen Bingo. Now, just to be fair, this isn't the only drag queen bingo that has been played up here I think this was the first time here in Santa Clarita, but I think this is something that has happened in other places, in other metropolitans down through the months. But here's a clip from local Fox 11 News where the mayor was being called out at a council meeting by both his constituents who were calling in and his colleagues on the council alike. Roll that clip, Jerry.
Tuesday evening, the Burbank City Council met. It was the first meeting since the spanking video. But Mayor Anthony's controversy dominated much of the meeting. Outraged citizens phoned in, lambasting the mayor's actions.
Sadly today, we keep on yourselves back in the spotlight because of an embarrassing video. His action, in my opinion, is to be resigned immediately from both the mayorship and the council.
Also calling out the mayor were his colleagues on the council, who were flooded with calls and emails, angry at Anthony.
But I would just like to make this request personally, that you keep your personal life personal, your campaign and your supervisor campaign away from the Burbank City Hall, and then you limit yourself to the duties of being mayor of our city in a respectful, honorable way so that we can be proud to call you mayor. And to let me make it clear, I'm not embarrassed by the video, but how you handled it and how you brought the circus to our steps.
This must be discussed on the dais. This must be understood about, people are expecting us, like Councilmember Takahashi, to take action, to have me step down as a mayor.
Several times the mayor addressed the video. At first he was defensive.
Mr. Mayor, respectfully, Channel 11. Was it a lapse of judgment?
Followed by Scott Myers. Thank you.
Later, he was more contrite.
I'm having a difficult time with it. I come from a very silly performance background. To me, what is goofy and normal to other folks seems inappropriate. That's not their fault. That's mine. I need to learn that.
Well, there you have a clip of the mayor of Burbank, on the one hand, getting real defensive with somebody in the council chambers, and then ends up being a bit conciliatory and try to explain it away by saying his tastes are not other people's tastes. Duh, of course. But all of this occurred in our fair city in Santa Clarita over this past weekend. In fact, this was done under the watch care of the SCV Democrats. That's the Santa Clarita Valley Democrats. Now, when this video went viral, and again, I wish I could show you the video. You can check this out online. It went viral, like I said. You've got Constantine bending over a table, rear end up in the air, and a drag queen coming up behind him with a paddle and whipping his bottom. And when all this went viral, for some reason, the Santa Clarita Valley Democrats felt like it was necessary to issue a statement in order to, quote, set the record straight, pardon the pun. And here is what they said. Quote, the Santa Clarita Valley Democrats vehemently condemn the sensationalized and inaccurate use of our event for political clickbait in order to promote an agenda of fear, homophobia, transphobia, and bigotry. We continue to stand in our support of the LGBTQ plus community and drag performers. The statement goes on to say, on a busy Saturday with several independently hosted events, Santa Clarita Valley Democrats hosted a private fundraiser for our own organization. And here's what they say. No endorsed candidates were in attendance. No state legislative or federal candidates were in attendance. Our event was open to young adults over the age of 15. Let me read that again. Our event was open to young adults over the age of 15, and no one under the age of 18 was in attendance. Sounds like a little bit of a, word salad there. Maybe Kamala Harris wrote this. Quote, there were no children in attendance, and as an organization, we refuse to engage with this fake outrage. Drag Queen Bingo is a very popular event to host among many Santa Clarita organizations across the community, from veteran family groups to religious groups. By the way, I'm a religious group, and I would never host a drag queen bingo at the Freedom's Way Baptist Church. And then it goes on to say this: to lie about children, the nature of the event, or who was in attendance for political clout is shameful and sick. Well, the one person that we can say was in attendance was the mayor of Burbank, who is running to replace Catherine Barger as one of our supervisors. Now, a couple of things about this statement by the Santa Clarita Valley Democrats are quite interesting. Number one, what do they mean by, quote, no endorsed candidates were in attendance? You mean that the Santa Clarita Valley Democrats haven't thrown their support behind Constantine? After all, he's running for county supervisor against the only Republican. You don't think the SCV Democrats have supported Constantine? Now, again, I don't know. If anybody out there knows, please write that in the thread. If you're watching on Facebook right now, Facebook Live, or phone the radio station. But have the SCV Democrats thrown their support behind Constantine? I'm assuming they have. And number two, this is what their statement went on to say. This event was open to young adults, quote, over the age of 15, but yet no one under the age of 18 was in attendance. Now, think about this. Why do they feel it necessary to mention this? Would you want your 15-year-old attending this? Do you refer to your 15-year-old as a, quote, young adult? I certainly don't. I got a 17-year-old, and he's not legally an adult, even by California state standards. Folks, they want and are sexualizing our kids. They're attempting to normalize this over-sexualized behavior in order to mainstream it. Folks, this is the same party that in the 90s used to say it's all about the women. Now, 30 years later, they can't define what a woman is. This was the party that always likes to say it's about the kids, but now they're trying to sexualize our kids at younger and younger ages. Thankfully, our congressman, Mike Garcia, right here in the 27th District, put out a statement in response to this drag queen spankathon. And here is what the congressman said, and I quote, "We need an explanation on how children were not only allowed to attend, but explicitly invited to this event," Representative Garcia says. The hosts of this event acknowledged it wasn't suitable for children, yet, in their own statement, they invited 15-year-olds, which are minors under California state law, and defined as 18 years of age, not 15, by the way. And of course, Congressman Garcia goes on to say this comes at a time when California's parents are already nervous for their children, and then goes on to talk a little bit about how he stands with parents in our community in terms of public school and so on and so forth. Now, I say all of this in order to ask this question. Where have the political statesmen gone? Where have the political statesmen gone? Instead of elected statesmen in office, we have a group of smut peddlers who are attempting to normalize behavior that just yesterday was deemed improper, not in good taste, or, as any good preacher would say from the pulpit, just plain evil and sinful. That word statesman is a word that doesn't get thrown around very much and obviously doesn't apply to many of our elected officials anymore, except for only a handful. But the word statesman is defined as, quote, a skilled, experienced, and respected political figure or leader. And by the way, just to be fair, we've had political statements on both sides of the political aisle. I may not agree with the left side of the aisle, but we've had some political statements on the left that had far more clout and displayed far more statesmanship than many on the left do today. In fact, I would say that many of them, like John F. Kennedy and others, phone call there, son. Talking to my boy there. He's the board operator today. The word statement, again, is defined as a skilled, experienced, and respected political figure leader. Men like Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, Ronald Reagan have been replaced by the likes of Constantine Anthony Scott Wiener, and pencil neck Adam Schiff. We have very few political statesmen left in modern politics. Dignity and duty has been replaced by degenerates and disunity. But luckily for us here in Southern California, we have a chance in 2024 to elect some statesmen. People that, Lord willing, will bring back that skilled, experienced, and respected political figure or leader that really both sides of the political aisle are yearning for. We have a chance in 2024 to do just that. When we return here on Politics in the Pulpit, we'll talk to Patrick Lee Gipson, who is running to replace Pilar Schiavo in the state assembly, and Lord willing, bring back some balance, sanity, and good old common decency back to Sacramento. When we return on your hometown station, Patrick Lee Gipson. All right, we're back live here on your hometown station. This is Politics in the Pulpit with the Bishop of Santa Clarita, Pastor Jerry Cook of the Freedom's Way Baptist Church. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And we just got done talking about what is a statesman? Why don't we have statesmen anymore in public service, in public office? We've had statesmen. We've had statesmen on both sides of the political aisle. And I can think more broadly and more recently, President Ronald Reagan, of course, was a statesman. I even think John F. Kennedy was a statesman. Even Franklin Delano Roosevelt, even though I disagreed with half of the stuff, if not more, of what he did during the Great Depression, he was a statesman. But I was just saying at the bottom of the hour that we have a chance now in 2024 to elect what I would hope would be some statesmen into public office. We have on the phone today Patrick Lee Gipson, who is running to replace Pilar Schiavo here in the 40th for State Assembly. You can find him at Gipson, Gipson 4, that's a number 4, Gipson4assembly.com. Patrick Lee, say hello.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me on, Jerry. I appreciate it.
What is going on with Patrick Lee Gipson, and tell us a little bit about how the campaign's going so far.
Well, we are raising money because that's what politicians do, I guess. So I'm not a typical I don't consider myself a politician, but here we are. You know, I just retired about 3 to 4 weeks ago from the LA County Sheriff's Department and one frying pan into the next. So I'll be your statesman for AD 40. And it's a winnable race. And that's one of the thing that people really need to understand is this race that I'm running, it's winnable. Suzette Balladares lost it, barely lost it. And now we have Pilar doing all kinds of crazy things right now, which is she's approving a bunch of Senate bills and 8 Assembly bills that are crippling businesses. They are letting prisoners out, murderers, and basically taking your school board's rights away from the local school boards. And they want to put that right back up in Sacramento where you don't have a say anymore. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know money. I know money is real important in politics, and obviously, in order to win this race against Pilar, not only do you have to have, great ideas and good looks, which of course you have both, but that's at least according to your wife, right? Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you laughed at your own self there.
I had to. I
appreciate that. But in terms of money, I know that there's a comedy night coming up called Make America Laugh Again. Would you talk a little bit about this Make America Laugh Again coming up in October?
Absolutely. That's going to be October 5th. That's in Porter Ranch. Basically, we are getting like-minded people together. We're going to have a night of comedy and politics. And we haven't really seen too much of that on our side, but it's where everyone can get together, help me fund my campaign so we could actually take out the current incumbent who is not doing much right now except for destroying our country. And
destroying our country and destroying our state and destroying our community. There's no doubt about it. So who's coming to Make America Laugh Again? Are these comedians? Are you the one going to be getting up there and doing some stand-up? What's going on?
No.
Because obviously your timing is so good, Patrick.
Yes. We have some comedians there. These are conservative comedians. They're going to, go a little bit on, current comedy, what's going on in our country and our state. We also have LA City Councilman John Lee. He is going to be there as a guest speaker. And we are also having the mayor of Santa Clarita, and that's Jason Gibbs, and he will also be a guest speaker as well. So we got a pretty good lineup going on. I think that it's going to be a great night, and always, give thanks and praise to God and to my wife, lovely wife, who is the one in charge of this whole thing. She takes care of business. So she's my current and only campaign manager, so she's kicking butt. So we got a really good team with us now. Like I said, this is a winnable race. This is something that we can take back, and we actually need to take back, because I'm not moving out of California. I really can't move out of here. My kids are staying here. Business is here. Me and my wife run a small business, so we have really nowhere else to go except for fight. Yeah.
So if you're blamed by the opposition party of sleeping with the campaign manager, that's okay.
Legally, I'm safe, so I'm good.
That's good. Well, I understand that Councilman John Lee has endorsed you. Is that true?
Absolutely, yes. So he has given me his blessing and endorsement. So those of you supporting John Lee, I definitely need your support as well.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Well, Patrick, give us a little context. You said you just retired 3 or 4 weeks ago from the Sheriff's Department. Provide the folks out there who may not be completely familiar with you at the moment just what your background is in law enforcement and how that really lends to how you're going to govern if in fact you do win this seat.
Correct. So I started my law enforcement career in 1999. They got hired by the Sheriff's Department in July 3rd, and I just retired August 16th, which was my birthday. So that gives me from up until, I guess now? Yes, 24 years. So I served 24 years at LA Sheriff's Department, LA County Sheriff's Department. I've seen it from the beginning when I first started. We were able to actually arrest people. They were able to stay in jail, and there's consequences to people's actions. And what we see now, obviously, we have tons of crime, and we see it on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, but I guess people see that. Instagram, Facebook, which is probably where most people get their news at anyway. And these guys are doing smash and grabs left and right. Northridge got hit last. It's just, there's a lot of cities going through this. And what gives them the idea that they're able to go and do these smash and grabs without any consequences? And, one of them is our illustrious LA County District Attorney, George Gascon, who is not filing on these guys. And they're pretty much not doing anything. And then we don't have any backing from our majority of our LA City Council. They're not doing much about it. They're still trying to defund our police departments and sheriff's departments. And we are having a really tough time, because what business is going to stay in business if they continue with this madness? Yeah. There's an answer, obviously, to all this stuff. And it's to vote in people like myself, people who other candidates who are on the same platform that I'm running on. And basically, we are here to restore balance and, take back our California, because obviously I'm not moving. I can't, so this is my home. This is where I was born in Granada Hills, and this is where I live. I'm raised in a little bit in Santa Clarita Valley as well. So I'm familiar with that whole place. And to me, it's home. So when I see someone attacking my home, I have to do something about it. With me being in the Sheriff's Department, it gave me a great opportunity to learn about just where I live and the crime that's there. And so from that 24 years, knowing pretty much nothing about law enforcement or anything like that up until now, I can tell you that we are in dire need of better policy and bills that need to come out of Sacramento to protect our public safety, our businesses, our family, our children. So yeah, that's what you're going to get with me. I'm going to come back, and I'm going to get up there and do work. Actually put people first. Besides, I don't know what they're putting people first. I have no idea what they're doing, but we have to bring back some safety back into our public public needs it. We need public safety more than ever now.
Have you had an opportunity to actually see Pilar, speak to her, and is there anybody that's running to your right in order to unseat her as well? Or are you the only one running?
No, I'm the only one that I know of. There may have been one or two, but they've dropped out, and we haven't heard anything from them. And then on with Pilar, I've never spoken to her. I spoke to her briefly. I met her in Chatsworth. There was a Chatsworth street event, and I said hi to her for a few seconds. And then one of my other friends running for state senate, Lucy Volotsky, who you know, confronted her about a bill that she signed off on. She had no idea what she was doing or what the bill number was. She was like, and she zipped up and she ran away. So that's what she did.
Yeah. Well, Lucy, she's we love Lucy around here, so we like when Lucy does that kind of stuff. But if you do win, will you be having some sort of maybe an attempt in a debate with her if she would agree to it?
That would be great. I'd love to see if she, I think from what I heard from the last time she ran against with Suzette, there was definitely no debate scheduled or anything like that.
Yeah.
So if that's something that she'd like to, come up and talk to me and, have a little bit of a good old fashioned debate. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah. I'd love to see that because I think a lot of our Democratic opponents out there have a hard time defending their record. They really hate when their record is brought up because they realize their record sounds great when it's them explaining it, but when it's the opposite side explaining it, they have a really, really tough time defending and running from their record. Let's talk a little bit about some of the Senate bills and some of the Assembly bills that are coming up. You kind of brought up a couple earlier. And I think all of these bills are what Pilar actually supports and is probably going to be end up signing off on. But let's talk a little bit about Senate Bill 94, which would open the possibility of judicial review in order to reduce sentences for some felons of serious crimes, including murder. And of course, this provision of this bill goes on to say they have had to been in prison for 25 years, and the crime had to occur before June of 1990. Talk a little bit about SB 94 and why that's a bad deal for Californians.
Well, obviously they're in there for a reason because they obviously had, murder. Obviously, there's one of them, and there's other crimes too. It's there's assault, rape. You got all kinds of manslaughter charges, and these people are in prison for a reason because they were not able to succeed in society. They actually were trying to kill society. And their actions dictated to the rest of the world and to, consequences that you're going to serve time in jail or, life in prison without parole. Now that's gone. And one of the bad things about that is when you have somebody released who has not been rehabilitated, there's no rehabilitation schedule or information attached to that bill. It's just, hey, you served enough. We feel you served enough time in prison. We feel sorry for you. You're the criminal, but, the victim, they're left high and dry because, man, they're still missing a family member. They're still missing, a leg or arm or, they got wounds that are not just physical and, they're wounds that are also mental and spiritual inside of them that they're never going to recover from. And that's one of the things that you have to understand. If you see that person all of a sudden walking down your street, I'm sure you may even have a heart attack of fright, because of what happened. So, and additionally, on top of that, if they're not rehabilitated, what's to say that they're not going to go and do even worse? And typically, when they do get released like that, they end up 90+% doing worse or, the same thing, which is, causing crime, havoc, assault people, killing people, police officers. We already have a tough job doing our job. We don't need somebody else coming out from prison who is basically, prison trained, and they know nothing else other than to attack and do what they need to do because they've had a prison mentality for decades.
Yeah.
And it's not a mentality that you want out in the streets.
And by the way, SB 94 is something that Pilar Schiavo is supporting. And so if you're out there and you want to get a hold of your constituents, you need to say vote no on SB 94. Let's talk about Assembly Bill 1078. Obviously, we know that school boards have been in the forefront of the news the last couple of years, especially with the great win by Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, who, of course, basically rode to victory defending parents and their rights to address the school boards. California has been one of those states when the Dobbs decision happened, they wanted to be on the forefront of making abortion legal. And of course, we have now a constitutional right here in the state, which is silly. Now the governor wants to basically put the kibosh on the ability of school boards to have some sort of control over their curriculum. So AB 1078 would take away local school boards' ability to control the curriculum. Patrick, what kind of curriculum does the state of California want kids to see, and what curriculum do parents not want our kids to see?
Well, you're already looking at tons of curriculum that's out there that a lot of California parents, especially Chino Hills and Temecula and Burbank, Glendale USD and LA USD. There's a lot of parents up there in uproar. Mm-hmm. They are pissed that we have CRT, critical race theory, being shoved down our throats. We have to accept, as Christians, we know, and I know there's other religions who are against LGBT being taught to their children. Yeah, we don't have that choice, and they're not going to give us that choice anymore. Even to school boards who are the ones voting in their school board for people to do just that, to make sure they defend their children. And that's not just defending, that's defending on all of them. So it needs to be school, math, English, history, and it needs to be history that's not biased history. We need to have information that children are being taught where they can actually learn something and read, because our reading level here, we're the 50th of all states. Yeah. It's bad. Yeah. So we need to really pull back on that stuff and focus on our education, get our children where they're educated and actually make a difference in this world. Because you got children from people coming from China, and they're taking our education. You got children, kids and families from India all over the world who have better education, and they're taking the jobs here because we don't have the education anymore. There's no competition. And what little we do have, it's great, but we really need to fight for our children's education and protect those school boards, because basically at the end of the day, if we can't get them, they're just going to continue to spread socialist constructs, ideas, and all those other things that we did not found this country on. It was founded on Christian values. It was founded on moral values. And we need to stick with that, because that's what kept us running for the last 200 plus years. So we really need to think about where our country's headed and where we're going to end up, because if we don't stop this, our country is definitely going to suffer. And, there's a myriad of things that could happen to a country who is not ready for anything, especially with our military being slowly taken away and not even, I can go off on that one all day long, but let's stick to the SB stuff. But our state is in dire need, and we need to help. And that's why I'm running. I can't leave this type of state to my children and my children's children. I have to fight for them. Yeah. If somebody wants to donate to Patrick Lee Gipson, give us the information that we need to be able to do that. Absolutely. Go to my website. And that's GibsonForAssembly.com. There's a donate button on there. And there's also another button for you want to activate yourself and help out. You can be a canvasser. You can be a phone caller. You can do all kinds of things. You can even do meet and greets, fundraisers. So if your business is out there and you're listening, I'm here for you. I got to protect you, because you guys are at odds with the rest of the Democrats in the socialist Democrats that are running our state legislature. So nothing wrong about Democrats per se, but there are some good ones out there, and they're conservative, and they're afraid of what's going on as well. Well, we need those guys. Yeah, we need those guys to vote for you. Yes, we do, because they're hurting too. Absolutely. And also on top of that, we are having a meet and greet in Granada Hills and that's at Belgian Waffle House. That's this Thursday. So if you guys are able to make it over there, that's at 6 p.m. It's on my website. It's on Instagram, so you can find me on Instagram if you're on Instagram. It's Patrick. It's Gipson for Assembly. Gipson for Assembly. Gipson for Assembly on Facebook. Get a hold of me, and I'd be more than happy to talk to you. Find me at that meet and greet. Shoot your questions out, and I'm going to answer. And if, hopefully they're answers you want, and you can take home and tell the rest of your family, because we got to take California back. It's a winnable seat. We can win.
Well, thank you, Patrick Lee, for joining us today. I encourage you all to go out to Gipson for Assembly, GIPSON for Assembly.com, and support Patrick Lee Gipson for the 40th. We'll come back in just a minute here on your hometown station. All right, we're back here live on Politics in the Pulpit on your hometown station. This is our last 6 or 7 minutes with you. I want to make this count. So I don't know if you were aware of another individual jumping into the LA District Attorney race. I think there's about 9 or 10. I think all of them are Democrats, maybe except one. But yesterday, on September 12th, a gentleman by the name of Jeff Chemerinsky jumped into the DA race. Now, some of you might not know who Jeff Chemerinsky is, but some of you might know his father, Erwin Chemerinsky. Now, Erwin Chemerinsky was the Berkeley Law School dean for many years and has been very, very close with Gascon. And in fact, Erwin Chemerinsky, Jeff's dad, partnered with Gascon to develop many of his insane policies that he has been unfortunately on display here in the LA County area. So Jennifer Van Laar over at Red State has put together a pretty good piece here called, quote, "Is Soros Done with Gascon? Lefty Jeff Chemerinsky, son of Berkeley Law Dean, enters DA race." So here we have Jeff Chemerinsky, who is a handsome, vibrant, and tall gentleman, kind of in the Governor Gavin Newsom vein, you know, Batman and all that kind of stuff. He looks just photogenically better than Gascon does, who I think is basically the Romanian Kermit the Frog. And I don't even know if he's Romanian or not. I think he's of some sort of Spanish descent. But anyway, regardless of that, I have got some news in the back of my mind that there is going to be a pretty hefty endorsement of Jeff Chemerinsky coming down the pike here in the next, week or so. And this is going to supposedly turn the tide, and it seems like the lefties are going to kind of slowly back away from Gascon, because many of them realize he's probably not going to win re-election. Any of these Democrats that are running will probably be better except for Jeff Chemerinsky. Jeff Chemerinsky is bad, bad news. All he is Soros, but a younger version, a cleaned up version, and a much better communicator of these progressive, leftist, socialist, justice type policies. And folks, that's the problem with LA County. In order for a good law and order DA to win, he's probably, or she is probably not going to win in LA City. And that's unfortunate that we have to kind of write off the city, because that's where the majority of these policies are felt in a very negative and real way. They are living those leftist social justice policies in a meaningful way, but yet the city, unfortunately, is going to vote for that, a doubling down of that leftism and a doubling down of that social justice stuff. So in order for a good DA to win, even a moderate Democrat or a more conservative Democrat to win, and I have some in mind right now, we're going to have to run up the votes in those cities around Los Angeles City. In other words, we're going to have to run up the votes in the broader county than in Los Angeles itself. And that's really the only way for one of our guys or one of our gals, even though technically they're not really one of our guys and not really one of our gals. But we need to run up those votes in the county in a meaningful way that is going to kind of off balance what's going to be coming from the city of Los Angeles. Also, keep in mind, Villanueva just jumping in to challenge Janet Hahn for supervisor. This is going to be interesting. We only have one conservative right now, one Republican that is representing us, and that is Catherine Barger. And thankfully, that's my area up here in the SCV Valley. But we really don't have anybody else. Janice Hahn, I guess, would be the next best, and she's a conservative Democrat or more moderate Democrat. I don't exactly know how she would describe herself, but Alex Villanueva has put his hat into the ring and is going to be challenging Janet Hahn. So we'll see how that race materializes. We know how hated Villanueva was and is by the LA County supervisors. And man, if you just go on YouTube and see some of the verbal battles they've had, it has been interesting. Next week on Politics in the Pulpit, we'll have another great show for you. I don't exactly know who's going to be calling in or who will be the guest, but I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. In a couple weeks, I'll also be down at the Reagan Library, and I'll be doing some media down there for KHTS, our hometown station, for the Republican debate. So hopefully we'll have some good video and some good dialogue with guys like Vivek Ramaswamy, and I'll even talk to the globular one, Chris Christie. So catch us next week here on Politics of the Pulpit on your hometown station. This is the Bishop of Santa Clarita saying, God bless you. Hope you have a great week.